All right, everybody, and welcome back to Fright Film Freaks, episode number 6. I got it this time. And we are reviewing, it's St. Patrick's Day weekend, right? Right
Yep.
around
Yes.
St. Patrick's Day. This will be coming out right around St. Patrick's Day. So
Yes.
we had to do Leprechaun. Man, just the original Leprechaun had to do this movie. This is a cult classic to
Mm.
a lot of people. So we had to
Yes.
get on here and talk about it. I've seen this movie like a billion times. I'm sure everybody watching this has seen it a billion times. Right around this time of year as well. So 1993, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So Jennifer Aniston's first film, I believe, or one of the
Yes.
first films.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
her
It's a
debut, and then she
Yeah.
did Friends a year after this.
Yes, and
So just like straight into it.
then she basically refuses to talk about this movie ever.
Yeah.
She like went on Howard Stern once, I think, to talk about it, and she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I was dating a guy at one point, and he was like, 'You're in Leprechaun, right? Should we watch it?'" And she was like, "Absolutely not." Which is kind of like fine. It's like I understand, but it's like that superstar celebrity
Yeah, which
status of like,
I don't get it because she's basically playing the same character.
definitely 100%. 100%. She's like Rachel Green in Leprechaun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's super hot too, so which is a plus. Thumbs up on that. Um, but yeah, her first movie, we got Warwick Davis playing the Leprechaun here. Um, just in all first thing I gotta say about this movie is it's my initial thoughts are it's bad. It's a bad movie, but
Yeah.
I don't hate anything about it. Like I like watching the movie. Like I just like it. I there's nothing I'm not complaining about it. I really like the movie. Like I always watch it. I watch it a lot. I own it. I like popping it in now and then. I just like it. But I know that I'm watching a bad movie. Like it's a not
Yeah, it's
nine
almost
hundred
aware
thousand
of what it
dollars.
is.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
It felt like it was in a weird middle ground where it was didn't know if it wanted to be more towards like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or Critters
Or
and
Child's
like
Play.
Gremlins. Yeah,
Yeah,
with a little bit of Ernest Scared Stupid
100. Wow, that's actually a
at
great
the
call.
end,
Yeah, that's a great call. Yeah,
especially in
yeah,
like the very like last like 15 minutes. It felt very. Oh wait, was this supposed to be a kids movie?
right.
Like,
Yeah, they kind of said they were gearing more towards. I was reading up a little bit about it, and they were gearing more towards horror and scary for this movie. But then the way Warwick Davis portrayed the Leprechaun, he had a more humorous character in mind. So then it kind of switched gears and kind of
yeah,
kind of became this like horror comedy movie. And they didn't necessarily mean to do that, but when he was on, it was kind of just as it was happening, they were like, "Oh, we're recognizing it." It wasn't like they made it and then they thought it was scary and then everybody thought it was funny and it still did well. It was more of like as they were filming, they were like, "Oh, he's like adding this like humorous aspect to this character." Um, so we'll just roll with that. And that's what they ended up doing, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
Guys, I'm confused because we're talking about the legendary Leprechaun.
Oh, he's
And
legendary,
and and
It
you
was
guys are
legendary.
you
but
guys
it but
are
it's a bad movie. I
you guys are using this word
mean,
bad. Like are we saying like bad to the bone? I
no, we're
mean, I'm
saying
confused. I'm
no,
confused.
like we were
No,
like we were talking about off camera. It's so bad it's good. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like
Oh
it's one of those
Well,
man,
movies.
it's
so good.
campy.
I mean, the
It's
movie's bad. The movie's bad.
So good.
Yeah.
If no
But I
one
feel
has
like
ever,
everybody took seriously on set and as a character, they took it seriously,
yes,
but in different varieties of the
yeah.
sense. And
Because they knew
it was,
they were making a legendary film.
I mean, it's legendary now. I mean, the movie got played over 600 on about 600 screens across America and made about $8 million, $2 million on its opening weekend, which is not good. It's terrible.
I remember it did not come out. I was living in Jacksonville and it did not come out in our area, our local theater.
Yeah,
And but on the VHS market, it was the preview
it was
was
huge.
on every single movie
Oh yeah, and
Remember, it's like him counting the coins, and then you can barely see him, man. It was such a cool preview,
dude, they
you know.
partnered they to like promote the movie. They partnered with the NBA actually. So they did some like NBA commercials where it like kind of played off like the Celtics as well because the Celtics logo is the leprechaun and like it kind of like so they had this kind of gimmicky thing with the NBA that they did. And there was one other company they did it with and I can't remember who it was, but so they had good promotion, but the problem so it was a $900,000 budget. They made in total on their theatrical run about just over 8 million, I think. So the movie itself, like, even though it didn't make that much money, did extremely well for their budget. So they made all their money back. Now the question is how much did they put into advertising and promoting for the movie? Like, what was the that number and how much money did they actually make off it? You know, because they might have put I don't know if they would put 8 million into advertising if they only spent 900,000 on. Hopefully, they only put like 1 million into advertising. That way, you come out with like a $6 million, you know, uh, uh, you know. Hopefully, they made at least
Profit
six
gains.
mil. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like hopefully, they made that at least, which is still good. You know what I mean? Like for what they put into it. And then I mean, when it like Steven, like you said, the VHS run, like put it up to the point where they're like, okay, 2 years later, a sequel comes out. You know, they had enough, and then now it's a franchise. So I mean, so commercially, it did well. You know what I mean? Like now, as far as critics and all that kind of stuff, it kind of didn't get the reviews that they thought it was going to get, but you know, it still did. The movie still did well, and then became this cult classic. Obviously, you have what 8 movies or something like that if you count like
Yeah. The
Origins and
two.
then the new ones. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah,
my,
it had like a 10-year run
yeah, for
of
sure. I mean.
with Work Davis at least.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
then you had Hornswoggle in the 2014
Oof,
Origins.
oof,
That was like
oof.
kind of
Let's,
people were kind of confused because it was like
no,
where's
let's just not talk about that.
yeah, it didn't really like follow that story. So people were kind of confused. Like, did they just use the name Leprechaun and it was kind of this whole different thing?
Film
You know what I
entirely,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, because then 2018 they do the Leprechaun Returns, which I heard actually was kind of good. I haven't watched it yet, but
I saw it. It wasn't that bad.
yeah, yeah. So I heard decent things about that. I know the dude that played Ozzy was back in it. He reprised his role and stuff like that. So that's cool. But yeah, my thing with this film, which is cool, is like part two and three and four and all those ones, like the makeup gets better. The movies actually get better to me. Like the original isn't the best one in the franchise to me. So like, which is
Yeah, I
abnormal
have
for horror movies, you know what I mean?
the last time I watched this movie, I was probably about 4 or 5, and
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was either this, Candyman, or Evil Dead were one of the first like horror movies that I ever saw as a kid.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have been watching them, but I remember like Leprechaun scaring me as a kid, and I was like caught it on TV here to there, but never really sat down and watched the series until yesterday. I watched the first one again.
Yeah.
Like I watched it twice just to kind of like go through and like really like, oh, did I miss anything? Whatever.
And you were like, nope.
No, yeah, no. I forgot I was gonna count up how many shots on the shotgun he fired
Oh
before he
my God.
reloaded and after.
Fucking 25.
I shot him
Yeah.
6 times. Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some ridiculous, like when they're painting the house, I'm like, what are they? This is
The paint
crazy.
job was
Yeah.
insane.
I'm like, man, this is the brightest. It looked like kids painting in kindergarten. It was like this bright blue and this bright red. I'm like, what are we painting the house here? This looks horrible.
Right?
And then that shows the trucks, and it's just like the name of the company is Three Guys That Paint, which is hysterical.
Right.
And with one set piece I really liked was the truck. I loved the truck that they were driving because there's paint all over it. It's like one of those old
Right.
school Ford or Chevys, very old, and like it's got the paint all over it and shit. Very awesome.
I like
Three,
how I like how they get to spend the night. It's because they're painting.
yeah,
So
it's so
the
ridiculous.
dad's gonna let
Yeah,
two grown men and a child spend a night with him and his daughter
yeah,
because
Right.
they're
Just
painting.
meeting them.
Yes.
100%. Which when you first meet Ozzy as a character, you're kind of like, this guy, I don't know. This guy might this guy might do some weird stuff. I don't know. And then obviously he's probably my favorite character in the movie. But
Yeah. Some of the
I'd be
Francis.
worried. I'd be worried about Alex. I'd be like, who is this kid?
yeah. He's just coming over to paint,
I
and
mean, where's this kid's parents right now?
I love that all of
I'd
this
be very
happens.
confused.
All of this happens on like the first day too. Like that
Yeah, they
they get
just
there
moved
and
in.
people are just painting
Yes.
immediately, and they're painting like water colors, and it's
Hey, I have a question.
hmm
Whose fault is it that the leprechaun came back?
It was Ozzy, wasn't he?
was
When he
it?
was like dusting it off and stuff, when he heard the voice in there.
Oh man, they went
Because
Yes.
at
down
first she
before.
first woke him
Yeah.
up. She
Yeah,
first
Yeah.
woke him up when she like got scared and knocked the drinks over. He like
but
opens his eyes, but
but
he
they
wasn't
didn't
out of the
knock the
box.
clover. They didn't knock the clover over yet.
No.
No, because he needed Ozzy to go down
Okay,
there, and
gotcha.
that's
Yeah.
when he gets him out.
I remember that. I just didn't remember if he was the one that swiped it off or if they just kind of waited for him to go down there for him to make his entrance. But
They sent
Right.
poor Ozzy, down there for to clean the basement. That basement was filthy.
I know the
My God.
funniest part is when they go back down and they find a rat and they think it was the rat that scared Ozzy and they're like, "Oh, it's just a rat." Like if I found a rat in my basement, I'd be like, "It's a fucking get the rat out, man! Like don't leave it." Oh, it's just a rat, dude. He's fine down here. It's cool.
I have a question. Why is the painter in the basement cleaning?
I don't think he was going down there to clean. He heard the voice when he was
Oh
washing the paint off
yes.
his head,
Yes.
and he
Oh
like hears
yeah.
something,
Oh
and
yeah.
he makes his way down there.
I am so sorry.
And then
Yes, you're right.
Ozzy goes down too because he is it him or the other guy that hears Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
It's Ozzy. That's when
It's
he's like
Ozzy.
washing his head off, and he's
Yes.
like,
What a weird thing to like make him go down, just Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I don't know if it was it supposed to sound like it was Alex or something, like
No,
or
I think
just a
it's
kid.
just a
just a
kid
little kid.
singing.
I mean, I would follow that because I'm like, what the? I'm like, who the heck? Whose child is in his
Right?
basement?
Just a weird dialogue choice for the script to be like, yeah, we'll just have him start singing Twinkle Twinkle Little
Well,
Star because it sounds creepy, I guess.
Yeah.
now that you say that, I think there's a lot of like all of his one-liners are mostly like nursery rhymes or plays off nursery
They are,
rhymes.
yeah. And
So it's kind
they
of seems to
get
be a theme.
and they stay like that throughout the whole franchise too. They get that's where he gets his like Freddy Krueger and like Chucky style from, and it gets worse and worse. And then like, dude, I'm telling you, like as the franchise goes on, like the movies get hysterical, like hysterical, dude. And it's
Yeah.
so funny. Like with the third one, I think they're in Vegas. I'm pretty sure it's the third one. And I mean, it's so funny. He meets like an Elvis impersonator, and they're like,
The,
like it's so good.
the third one is my favorite. I love
Yeah,
that one.
that
That's the
that
best one.
I was thinking about it and I was like, man, that might be my favorite. I really like In the Hood. I really like Back to the Hood. I like both of those, but the third one is actually really good and really fun. And I mean, the second one is too. I mean, when they go to California and shit, he's got to get the bride and stuff. And then I mean, by the fourth one, he's literally in space, like he's on another planet.
Oh man.
He's on another planet. And then the fifth
Whew.
is he's in the hood, and then he's back to the hood.
Well, there's another thing that stood out to me in this movie. So remember when he gets his hand cut off in the door,
Yes.
and the hand crawls back up, opens the door, gets his hand back, but he doesn't go inside. He runs away.
Yeah.
And when he ran to the cop car, supposedly when he's the next scene, he's like talking to her as the cop. I was like, did he run all the way back to where he killed that cop? And I was like, oh, he drove that there. But I thought he drove the little car
The
because when
little
he ran
car.
to the barn and he like welded all the stuff together and he comes out and somehow rams their truck and rolls it down the hill that
Yes.
came out of nowhere. I
Is
was like,
that
oh, he,
before? That's after the tricycle, right? Wasn't he on a
yeah. So
tricycle?
he tricycle, he
No.
kills the coin shop
Man.
guy. He
Yeah,
steals
yeah.
a car, I guess, from the coin guy.
And it's just like the
Tries gets stopped
little,
by the cop. Yeah,
yes,
so I thought he took that into the barn and I thought he modified the little car to what he rammed them with.
right.
But then he goes back and is in the cop car and I was like, wait, like I thought he got there in the little car. Oh, he
Yeah,
stole the cop car
yeah.
and built a whole other car in like maybe 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, there might have
So
been
I was like,
some
okay.
continuity issues there. I mean, you know, nine
Maybe
hundred
there was
Like
thousand
a
dollar
maybe,
splice stuff
budget.
maybe
together.
there was a tractor back there, maybe, and he just, he's a leprechaun, man.
Yeah,
He has
Yeah, yeah.
he don't question his magic. How dare you both?
dude. When he comes out in the little car, man, I was howling, dude. I was laughing so hard.
Oh man,
I
it's so
totally,
good.
I totally forgot about that. And he gets
Yes.
stuck. It's like, I'm 600 years old. Just to me, if you look at the whole franchise, I know we're just talking about the first one, but if you look at the whole franchise, like he's not quite the character he becomes yet. Like I really
Right.
feel like the makeup gets better. Warwick Davis gets a feel for the character more. He
Naturally,
becomes
yeah.
he's like, yeah, this is how I feel like they just gave him free reign. They were like, be who you want this guy to be, and then that's who he was, you know? And
Which
he
I
just
realized this was his like first major role after Willow.
right.
It was like 5 years after that, and um, actually, he supposedly got special permissions from George Lucas because he was under contract with Lucasfilm because
Interesting.
he had done Willow, um, obviously Star Wars, and then
Yeah.
there was another one that was in between those two. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, he did the whole Leprechaun series. But there was also another Leprechaun movie he did between 5 and 6.
Hmm.
The Unlucky Leprechaun.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing the poster for that. That's funny though because I'm pretty sure Leprechaun in space he brings out a lightsaber. It's like one of their gimmicks. He brings out a lightsaber as like a so that's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean that this movie is what it is. He is a Steven's right. I mean he is a legendary like character. He's up
Oh
there. People
yes.
know who Leprechaun is,
Yeah,
even if they don't watch horror movies. Everybody knows Leprechaun. You know what I mean?
Oh,
right.
absolutely.
So it is really cool that he had that whole franchise to himself, kind of, which is like, I'm sure he's really proud of it. I really am. Like, and I would be too,
Oh
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like to have that amount of movie, not that many franchises have that many, you're up there with Jason and Freddy
Oh,
and Michael Myers. Like you're up there as far as numbers go, you know what I mean?
Recognizable. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the makeup only gets better, the character gets better. Um, in this first one, I mean, there is some good special effects, like as far as or practical effects, I should say. There's some good work at the end there when he's like, starting to melt before he goes into the when he takes the Alex shoots the clover
Oh,
wrapped in
in
gum.
his
yes.
throat, and he's coming out of the well. That shot was
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
it's
That
pretty
was cool.
good. It's pretty
Very
And the
good.
similar to
massive,
Gremlins. Very similar to Gremlins.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
the
And
massive explosion from the small amount of gasoline.
I know it's huge. And then just that transition into like fading to the morning when it's just still on fire, and then like the cops show up and the movie just another really funny part thing about this movie, which made me laugh. I couldn't imagine seeing it in theaters. Like I wish I would have because literally, like the screen's black and then it just opens up with him walking down the stairs like immediately. Like that's the
Yeah,
first shot as you see him, and you're like, "Oh, whoa!" Like, okay, there's the
this is our
leprechaun. Like,
guy.
Yeah.
they're not trying to hide it at all. He's literally the first shot. It's
Oh
black and it
yeah.
starts to
Oh,
fade in, and it's just him walking down a set of stairs. You're like, "Oh, all right, here we go." It looks like almost like it's cut right into like a middle of a movie or something. Like,
He needs no introduction.
no, he's just
You
there.
know.
He's
Yeah.
just there. They're like,
He
"We're
is
coming in."
the
It was
man.
just kind of an interesting way to start the movie because you're like, oh, we're coming in like a little bit into a story that's already happening, it feels like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
now you're a fly on the wall and you're watching what's going on. They're kind of an interesting way to start a movie, which there really was no introduction, you know? It was just like straight to the point, let's go.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to say about the movie. I mean, the movie is what it is. People like it. You don't have that many movies for St.
St.
Patrick's
Patrick's
Day,
Day. Yeah,
so it's always going to be there. It's going to survive. It's survived this long. It's going to survive another 20, 30 years. Like it'll always be there. And now that they had like a sequel done in 2018, like I'm sure at some point they'll do another one possibly.
Yeah.
Like I mean that it's
They need to bring Warwick back one more time. One more time.
that would be great. I mean if they did that and did sort of the same makeup and didn't like
Yes. Bring him back. Don't change anything up. Bring
yeah.
him back. He can look very similar. And
I would
I
love
mean,
to see.
you have so many different opportunities you could do with that.
I would love to see like Jennifer Aniston. Like I was saying this to my wife. I was like, I would love to see her embrace it and be like, you know what? I'm going to executive produce a new Leprechaun. I'm
Yes.
going to come back for the role. I'm going to reprise my role.
Yes.
Like, let's bring back these characters. Let's go back to the same house. Let's go back to the well again. Like, let's just do it all over again.
He
You know what
comes
I mean?
back for the one coin that was left in his stomach.
Seriously, it'd be sick,
Oh
man. Like,
yes.
I would love to see that.
That would be so cool. Kind of do like a number first one, and this is like the true part two.
Yeah, well, like you know
Yeah.
how they did like the Halloween where like
Yes.
2018 came out and it was just a direct
Yes.
sequel. Like, you
That
could
just
totally pull
I
that
like
off.
that. Yes.
I would love to see that. Bring back the original cast,
John
do it again.
called Jennifer and set it up.
Yeah,
Okay. So Leprechaun, I remember just the first time watching the preview, and I was just so excited. I would just look so cool, man. You know, him counting the coins in the dark, and then one's missing, and you hear him get angry. And man, in the movie, man, the movie's just so good, man. Warwick Davis pulls it off, legendary character, and like he's up there with Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. You know, the Leprechaun. He's known. You know, um, favorite scene that where he's running between the trees, terrifying that cop for no reason, man.
yeah,
You know, dude, and he's just terrifying him, man. It's so funny, dude. Such a good movie. I'm so glad, like you said, dude, they get better and better and better, man.
they
And
do.
even when he's in space, it's great. You know,
Yeah.
oh, Leprechaun in space, but it's a great movie.
Oh hell yeah. They take it there. They take it there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm gonna say it, man. It is what it is. To me, Jennifer Aniston's awesome. It starts out where he's ruthless. You know, he just kills that poor old lady like that,
Yeah.
and then he taunts her husband with her dead body. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, if that's not as ruthless as
Yeah,
they
it's pretty
come,
that's pretty underrated actually.
holy yes,
And he's like
absolutely.
holding her head too. And
Not even Freddy did that on the first one. You know what
true.
I mean?
True.
Dude, Leprechaun had no chill, man. He didn't care.
Yeah.
Dude, 5 out of 5 pumpkin friends. 5 out of 5.
Oh man.
Dude, legendary. Leprechaun, the introduction of the greatest.
It is legendary.
Yes, 5 out of 5. It's a movie where he's introduced to us, and a legendary actress is her career is
True.
born.
That's true. It is the spark
Yeah.
plug for what gets her going.
Yes.
And then Warwick's awesome, obviously.
And then let's not forget, man, it's got Robert Ty Gorman in it, you know, legendary
Yeah.
kid from you
Hmm.
know, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
he is so cool, man.
He's in some other good movies too. He's in is it the Rookie of the Year? I think he's in baseball movie.
Yes, he
Love that
is.
movie,
He's in
man.
Rookie of the Year. Yes,
Hell
he
yeah.
is.
Movie's sick.
Yeah, man.
And then what's his name? The dude that plays Ozzy was in Teen Wolf. He was on the
Oh,
basketball
Oh,
dude, let's
team.
not
he
forget
was
he's
Francis.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm about to
Pee Wee's
say
Big Adventure.
Pee-wee. Yeah, I'm a legendary villain.
That's why I forgot he was totally in this movie, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice."
We, you know, everybody hated him. We were cheering Pee-wee's drowning him.
Yeah.
All right, Jared, what do you got?
All right, so I don't know how I feel this one. It was enjoyable. It I feel like it had a rough start, like you guys said. I'm sure it gets better. I need to rewatch the other ones, but going in it from not watching this movie in probably 20 years at least, uh, I gotta say 3 out of 5.
Three
Just
out of
because it was,
five.
yeah,
Oh
I would have
man.
given it less, honestly, if it hadn't been as enjoyable as it was. There were some good aspects to it. You said practical effects, Warwick
Yeah,
Davis, like it felt very gimmicky, where it's like we're gonna make a
Oh,
St. Patrick's Day movie,
oh
and
my
it
goodness. I just
could
go
have
ahead
leaned
and
more into
end this recording.
folklore. I know I'm probably not gonna be invited back now because I gave a low score, but I wanted to kind of give it lower, but it had those redeeming qualities that it can still be enjoyable,
yeah.
even though it's objectively a bad movie,
I think it is.
just because of maybe it's production, maybe it's editing, I don't know, but it could have been taken one or two ways, and I feel like it couldn't pick a lane, like
Yeah.
between that Nightmare on Elm Street or Critters. Like, is it more
Dude,
comedy? Is it
dude,
more horror? It had to
the
lean one way or the other, I
the
feel like,
Ernest Scared Stupid is a good that's actually
especially in the last 15
yeah, that's
minutes.
a really good even just the feeling of like even the soundtrack, like the score was reminded me of that a lot as well.
Which don't get me wrong, I love Ernest Scared
Oh yeah,
Stupid.
it's great. Absolutely. All right. So would you say three?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, John. Come on,
Ready for
John.
our whatever point, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Listen, what else are you gonna watch on St. Patrick's Day? You're gonna watch like this and like Boondock Saints, basically, right? So like, so I think it has its lane in the sense of it has a time of year to watch. This is not necessarily a holiday movie, but it might as well be. So like at
Mhm.
least it has that on its side, and I think that has helped carry this movie. I mean, Sci-Fi plays it every St. Patrick's Day. It's on TV all the time during like it'll be on TV
Oh,
this weekend, guaranteed. And so it they I agree with Jared where let's make a St. Patrick's Day movie. That's kind of what they did here, without actually saying it, you know?
Yeah.
I think Warwick is great. I think he is an icon in horror. Like he is someone you think of. But I will say, if
Right.
you were to put him up in a bracket, like this, it's March Madness time, right? So everybody's gonna start making their horror March Madness brackets too. He will always be in that. He'll always be in that bracket, always. But he'll always lose. You know what I mean? And it's not his fault, but he's at least in. He made it to the big dance. You know what I mean? That's what I do like about it. He is an icon. The movie I do believe is a bad movie.
legend.
Uh,
Legend.
he is, he is a legend, but it is a bad movie. It's a bad movie. Um, and I like it a lot. I don't hate anything about it, really. I really don't. I like it a lot. Um, with that being said, I'm going to go 3.3 out of 5.
3.3 out of
Yeah.
5. Listen,
what
And, I,
what do you
and
say gain that 0.3?
what gained the point three was I think first of all I think well actually here's what's interesting is it didn't gain the point three. It
Okay.
lost points only because I think the franchise gets better. And if we were to ever I'm thinking about if we were to ever review the other like the sequels, I would put them higher than this movie. Like I would put 3 higher than this at a higher rating than this movie. I would put In the Hood higher than
That's
this
the one
movie.
everybody always references or
Yeah,
calls back to is In the Hood. I feel like
yeah.
it's the most
And
iconic
then
of
they
the
do and then they just it was so good they did Back to the Hood like
right.
right after that. So like they get better. I agree with Steven where number 3 is like could be my favorite one. I gotta rewatch them again. Like I really like In the Hood. I really like Back to the Hood. So I gotta rewatch them, and I gotta rewatch 3, which they're all on Peacock. So I might watch a few
yes.
more this weekend. But yeah, it's more so that I like the sequels better, and I think the makeup gets better. I think the acting gets better. The budget's better.
Man.
The kills get a little better. Um,
But this is the one that started it all. So, I mean,
yeah, but
give it its flowers. Give it
hey,
its flowers.
hey, this is my rating, dog. This is my rating, dog. And three. Listen, you're right. Like it is the one, but I think there is a nostalgia factor there that helps this movie out with a lot of people that like this franchise. Like it's
Right.
one of the first icons they saw. People's parents probably were like, "Hey, this isn't as bad. He could watch this. It's fine." That
Yeah,
type of
case in
things.
point.
Yeah, so I think there's
See,
like there's a nostalgic factor to it. So it helps but there's a lot of that stuff that carries this franchise and carries that movie. And it's not necessarily like the quality of this film that carries that. It's other
Yeah.
things that carry that, which is fine. That's what it is. Like that's what a lot of horror is. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that old 80s and 90s horror, that's what it is. Let's be honest, this movie was made in the early 90s when horror was kind of dying before like Scream came out. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of
Yeah.
horror was on the back burner as far as Hollywood goes. Let's be honest.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
80s were done. People were over it. You know what I mean? Like it was on the
They were
back
looking into
burner.
other things that were not slasher and
Definitely.
more like, you know, psychological
It
horror
was still
thrillers.
it
Like,
was still ruling like the video community, like the video
true.
rental community. but the
Definitely.
theater, yeah, it was fading away. You're right.
Yeah, no, the only thing that was
Um,
carrying horror at that time was like you had these teenage horror movies that were coming out. They were very, even if they were rated R, they felt PG-13. You had, uh, you know, all these movie posters coming out with the cast like on the, all these pretty beautiful people on the posters, and horror was just they were trying to make money off it rather than trying to worry about putting good stories out there. Not saying some of those movies aren't great as a horror fan, but like let's be honest, horror was on the back burner in the early 90s. It just was until Scream hit again. It was like then you started to see that incline in making money again on the genre. But at this point in time, money wasn't being made with horror. So like it survived that. So there's a lot to be said about that. I'm not saying this movie, like I said, I think it's a bad quality movie, but I like it. There's nothing I hate about this movie. So,
Right.
okay, okay, all right. So if you're watching this,
look
let me
at look
know
at look
if you
at
agree,
look at
and let
Steven.
me know if you agree.
He's trying,
The
he's
first
trying.
one, the first one is the best one, and it deserves its flowers. 5 out of 5. If you're watching this, just please leave a comment and let me know. Please, please.
He's
I
trying so hard.
yes,
He's
it
throwing
deserves its
Somebody agree
flowers.
with me.
It
he's
deserves
throwing
its
the flowers.
flowers.
He's throwing the flowers.
So let me know. I know there's people that that agree. That agree. I'll
He's
see.
It
give
is
him money.
enjoyable. It's
It is.
enjoyable.
I
I
think it
had fun.
is. Especially when like if you're like it's tough if you're not a horror fan. Like this is definitely for horror fans. Like
Yeah.
because like it's not
It's fun.
it's an oddball movie. Like it's
It's
like
a fun movie. It's a fun movie.
it's very punk rock. Like it's like we're just not going to do a movie that makes sense to anybody that doesn't like these types of movies. Like no one's down going, I should check out Leprechaun if they're just like into like cinema. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not what they're doing. They're not like Interstellar is my favorite movie, so I'm going to go check out Leprechaun. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah. If you really dissect that scene when he's riding the skateboard back and forth across the hallway, you know what it really means.
just absolute cinema. Yeah, the underlying theme here is can't really do that with this movie, but it is fun. It's enjoyable. We've
Yeah.
definitely established that. So
It's a great movie.
we got a good average. Steve, we got 5 out of 5. You got a three. I got three and a
Yes.
half. So I think our average is like we're pushing like 3.7. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's a decent movie. So we'll leave it at that, guys. Go check out Leprechaun, then watch this podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what your rating would be for this movie. Do you think it's top tier? Do you think it's middle of the pack? Do you think it's absolutely atrocious? Let us know in the comments.
Yes.
You guys heard it here from us already, so make sure you check it out.
John,
Yeah.
also too, I got a mini video podcast series
Yes.
we're gonna be posting, right?
Hmm.
I'm gonna be watching the Twilight series. My
There we
sister and
go.
we're gonna be reviewing them, and we're gonna be releasing it on Crooked Crypt.
Yep.
So legendary movies. I cannot wait to watch them again. And
So wait
I
for
want
that.
yes, yes. Might have some additional guests. I know Jared's already texted me about it. He's wanting to be a regular, but we'll see.
I can't wait till the
Uh,
Twilight series gets a lower rating than Leprechaun. It's gonna be unbelievable. It's
yes,
Right.
gonna be my favorite thing ever.
yes.
You gotta rate
John,
glitter.
John, you will be a special guest on an episode
Yeah, we'll
too.
see. We'll see.
Yes,
I've never watched them, so maybe
yes.
this is my chance. A
This is
lot of
your
people
time.
talk about them. A lot of people like them. So I like vampires. I like
You,
werewolves. So
you
you
will
never know.
probably end up being on every episode. So
You
just
never
might
know.
just might be just our mini series. So we'll see.
So
Anytime I
we'll
watch
see.
those, it turns into Mystery Science Theater where I'm just like,
Yes.
Yes,
Jared's
absolutely.
gonna want to join too because he's a big Twilight fan.
yeah, you know me.
Well,
Yes.
you'll know if I want to join an episode that I either loved it or I absolutely hate it, and I just want to tear it down limb from limb. So,
Oh, I know the fight scene, whatever the big fight scene is, where they're like, there's no blood, chopping stuff off.
oh
Oh
no,
man,
Uh,
man,
yeah,
so good. I cannot wait. We got
absolute.
that. That's coming soon.
Absolute romance. All right. So, yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel, please. I got plenty
Yes.
more episodes coming out for Fright Film Freaks.
Enjoy.
We got some other interviews coming up here pretty soon. Got more film reviews. Got some movie reactions still in the works. So keep you guys' eyes out and make sure you follow us on Instagram at The Crooked Crypt as well.
Mm.
Find out all information on new episodes coming out, new content coming out, new independent films being worked on, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we'll see you guys for episode 7. Peace.
Yes. 80s, hey, 80s horror.
80s horror.
80s horror. Yes.
All
I
right, let's
cannot
do
wait.
it.
Let's
Prime
do it.
time.
All right, guys.
See ya.